Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the March session of the Jail Oversight Board meeting. The first item on our agenda, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag. All right, the next item is public comment. And Joanne, do we have anyone in person who wishes to speak? And again, we have items on the agenda. We have an opportunity for public comment at the beginning and the end of the meeting. Public comment at the outset is reserved for just topics that are on our agenda for this afternoon, and the public comment at the end can be for any item that's related to jail oversight.
We do have one person coming forward for public comment on agenda items.
Hello, board and everyone here from the jail. It's good to see everybody again in person. My name is Jane Dunbar. My address is 232 Garfield Avenue in Norwood, Pennsylvania, 19074. And I just have a quick question about the hiring of the existing COs at the prison. I understand from the last meeting that there's going to be an extended, they'll be asked to apply or stay. And my concern, as well as other people in my circle who have either been there or have family members there, are concerned because I don't want to disparage anybody, but there's quite a few bad eggs. And the same names keep coming up every time I talk to somebody. So my concern is, are they going to be retrained? And if they're offered a position or offered to stay, how are they being vetted? We want to get the bad eggs out of there. We got the big bad egg out. Now we got to get the little ones, the little leftovers. So that's my question.
I can answer that. What I'd like to do is defer that until Warden Williams speaks, and she can talk about the process that's being used to vet all of the hires. Warden Williams will talk about that so I think she'll answer your question completely. Welcome.
Yes, and I'm going through the emails received thus far, and we have had a couple, all related to one particular item, but that item is not on the agenda for this afternoon, so we can come back to that at the tail end. And just a reminder to the public, if you are sending a comment in for the Jail Oversight Board, you need to include your name and your address so that we can read it into the record. All right, unless anything further in public comment, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the approval of the minutes of February. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, motion second. Any questions or comments on the minutes before we vote to approve them? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next item is an approval of the reports from February. Again, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the report.
Second.
I heard a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on the reports? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Next item for today is an introduction of our new Deputy Warden of Programs and Support. Warden Williams, do you want to introduce our new deputy?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Councilman. I am pleased to introduce another member of the administrative team that's going to assist in the transformational period of George W. Hill. Today, I have Daley Falley with me, and he has over 20 years of experience in the health and human services industry with an experience in the Department of Corrections as well. He brings with us expertise in procurement and program administration and has a vested interest in matters of public health, especially those concerning a vulnerable population like those housed in George W. Hill Correctional Facility. I've asked that he please come and share a few words about his hopes and vision.
Thank you, Warden Williams, for welcome. Executive Director Lazarus, Chairman Madden, members of the Oversight Board, and members of the public, good afternoon. I would like to start with a quote because I heard Mr. Lazarus Love's quote. Maya Angelou once said, if you do not like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Growing up in the international world in Benin, Ethiopia, in the United States, I learned this life lesson at a very young age. It has been part of my core value and my family foundation. As George W. Correctional Facility and Delaware County government go through changes, I'm thrilled to be part of Delco's new public safety ecosystem. Thank you, Warden William, for putting your feet to assist you with your vision for George W. Hill Correctional Facility to serve as a conduit for others' health service and criminal justice partners to reduce the overall jail population and recidivism rates for this county. As the agent of change in the correctional industry, and in order to accomplish your vision, I'm committed to the following: to foster partnership with government stakeholders, community-based service providers, and faith-based organizations, to implement impactful programs and services tailored to the short-term jail population in our George W. Hill custodial care by using evidence-based practices and promising wraparound service delivery. I'm also committed to implement a reentry center and/or a substance use treatment program focusing on continuum of care. In closing, I acknowledge change is hard. Peter Senge, an MIT Sloan professor, said people don't resist change, they resist being changed. I look forward to the challenge inherent with Deputy Warden program and support and lead through the acronym of RESPECT by recognizing the values of the GW family, local stakeholders, and communities, by effectively listening to our staff and our customers, by seizing the opportunity to foster growth, by placing our team and jail population in the posture for success, by encouraging a healthy risk-taking, by cultivating diversity, and by trusting our GWH family and each other. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any question from the General Assembly.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Falley.
Thank you, Chairman Adam.
Anything from the board for our new deputy?
I'd just like to add, I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Faley before the first interview we had. And there are people you meet in life who just make you better by being around them. And I think Daley is one of those. And as we get him involved in the programs in the prison, everyone will benefit from his presence there. Absolutely remarkable skill set and a wonderful person to be with. So I'm glad you joined us. We'll be better for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, thank you, sir. Warden Williams, do you want to take us through the staffing penalty situation for February?
Absolutely. And if I may deviate from the schedule or the agenda very briefly, I wanted to just simply acknowledge that March 8th today is International Women's Day. I would be remiss if I didn't capitalize on the opportunity to recognize the many women that work within George W. Hill Correctional Facility. Many people know that law enforcement in general, but the field of corrections is definitely a male-dominated spectrum of employment. And as you can see, for those that are present, I am flanked by many strong, independent, intelligent, powerful women who have supported my entire orientation into this county and the institution. Additionally, I wanted to take the moment to recognize that I have a female lieutenant, 6 female sergeants, an unbelievable amount of female correctional officers, and everyone in the healthcare services department that's a leader is also female. My program director within the institution, additionally, is female. It is an institution that is not easy to work in, but I could not do it without these women, and just wanted to take a moment to be able to recognize them and their service to this county.
You're here.
For staffing penalties. For February, the staffing penalties are totaling at $319,583.21. The staffing penalties are related to a staffing rate of 71 positions presently filled, which is a reduction of 1% from last month. And the adjusted staffing rate is presently 66%, accounting for staff that are presently on a leave of absence. This is consistent with last month.
All right. Is there any question or comment from the board before we vote to approve the staffing penalty?
I just had one question. Does this penalty include any credit at all for any person that we have hired from GEO? No.
No, it does not.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the staff penalty. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. All right. Warden Williams, we'll go directly into the coronavirus update.
Before I enter the coronavirus update, I would like to address Ms. Dunbar's questions and provide an additional recruitment update as it directly relates to staffing, which we had just discussed.
Sure.
Ms. Dunbar is correct. Internal interviews have been in process. The majority of our supervisory staff within security operations, sergeant, lieutenant, and above, have been interviewed, more than 80%. The remainders are scheduled for this week for completion so that we can come to a disposition. Out of all of the present officers, we have 62 internal current officers that remain needing scheduled for interviews. The remainder will be completed this week. We have a volume of individuals who are contributing to the success of this interview process to make sure that we are able to capitalize on being thorough in our vetting process. We have a standard and expectation for our employees, regardless of whether they are external applicants or internal applicants, and all will be subject to meeting those requirements and expectations in order to have an offer of employment extended to them. In terms of a vetting process, all employees are subject to a background check, and that is completed through NCIC Clean. So we will be reviewing criminal history processes. Additionally, they will be subject to physical assessments and drug screening. We have also scheduled all of the case management department to be completed this week, and we are working to schedule and finalize those that are in records, programs, education, and additional support staff. We have nearly all of our administrative staff, to include payroll and some of the departments that are going to be critical for our transition time, already onboarded onto this team. We have extended 24 offers for external applicants as of today. 3 more were being processed before I left, but I didn't want to include those in that total because it didn't seem transparent or fair. So we will continue to extend those offers as we've been interviewing. It's important to also note that Delco is hiring. We all know that, but it's important to recognize that we are continuing recruitment efforts. This past weekend on the 5th and 6th, myself and several other members of the county were at the 911 center, and we welcomed individuals to bring their resumes with us. We were actually able to complete on-site interviews for security operational staff. We do have 3 offers that were extended from those initiatives, with 3 more that are under review as possibles. There are several others that will participate in interviews with department heads for other position vacancies, such as education, case management. We hope that everybody listening will join us in spreading the word that we will still have representatives at the 911 Center at 360 New Middletown Road, Media, PA 19063, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, March 11th and Sunday, March 12th. There are other representatives from other county agencies and departments, to include the Bureau of Elections, County Courthouse, County Park Police, County Sheriff's Department, Fair Acres, Health Department, which is official, and we're very excited, and the Medical Examiner's Office. Coronavirus update. For the month of February, sorry?
Sorry, before you go there, I just wanted to provide my own just comment on the matter that the public comment brought up. I think, as the warden just said, we are setting a standard that meets the values of this county for who will work here. No doubt, we are in the most challenging hiring environment that we've seen in a very long time, and that's particularly true within corrections. But we're addressing that not by lowering our standards, but rather to pay market, provide benefits that are commensurate with what folks should be receiving, and really setting a standard for the environment in which folks would be working that we think would be attractive. So it's not a question of reducing our standards. There is no automatic hiring of folks who have been working under GEO. As the warden said, everyone is being brought through a true vetting and interviewing process before they can be deemed a worthwhile hire for the county.
Thank you for adding those additional notes, Councilman. I guess I should have asked if there were any other questions from board members related to recruitment efforts that I just offered before moving to coronavirus.
I just had one point of clarification. The job fair is this weekend, which is actually the 12th and 13th.
Yes, I gave the wrong date.
Just wanna make
Thank
sure
you.
it's Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, the 12th and 13th. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
yeah, no problem. And I know that the interviews are underway and that we're being apprised of that. So Godspeed on this. So
Thank you.
keep going.
Okay, thank you very much. For COVID-19 or coronavirus, in the month of February, 152 incarcerated persons were tested utilizing PCR tests. 4 were diagnosed throughout that time period as positive for COVID-19, which is a significant reduction in our positivity rate. Last month, we had 266 that were tested with 49 positive, which was reflective of the community rates, which was 18%. We are very excited that we have seen a steady decline as mirrored by what the community is experiencing. 224 new commits reported that they were vaccinated. Currently, 37% of our population is vaccinated, and that is due to the support ongoing from the COVID-19 task force, within Delaware County, which is led by Dr. O. Mahoney, frequently referred to as Dr. O. On Thursday, March 3rd, they provided a vaccination clinic and completed 35 additional vaccines on site at George W. Hill. Presently, we have 2 positive cases within the institution, and they will complete their isolation periods on the 13th and 14th. We had 3 staff members that were tested in the month of February. 2 were found to be positive. Currently, 0 staff members are out. With the reduction and decline in community positivity rates, many of you will notice I'm still wearing a mask. Those are still standards and expectations within congregate settings, so we are following all of the mitigation measures that are necessary in order to keep our population safe. We are, however, excited to note that we will be resuming on-site visits at George W. Hill beginning Monday, the 14th. This is something that we've not been able to do, and we're looking forward to opening that up. Online scheduling will be available starting on Thursday of this week. All in-person visits must be scheduled online in advance. They will be scheduled 2 days in advance of the visit, no more than 7 days. And in-person visits will take place between 12:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. It should be noted, as stated previously, masks are still required for all visitors to our institution, regardless of vaccination status. If you come for a visit and you do not have a mask, we will provide one to you. We do expect that you will comply with these necessary mitigation measures to keep everybody within the walls safe. Are there any questions regarding COVID-19? Hearing none, I can move on to contraband. In February, we increased the volume of shakedowns or searches within the facility to assist in the identification and location of items that might pose a threat to our institution. We did increase those numbers since January. We additionally completed 2 separate occasions of car searches, and I believe it was Oversight Board member, Mr. Corson, that had inquired about that last month. We did resume those, completing 2 within the last month. The remainder of my items I can keep for later in the agenda unless there are any additional questions.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Warden. Next item is an update on the deprivatization. And for that, I will turn to our owner's rep, Mr. Majid Al-Sayeh from Alta.
Good evening, members of the Jail Oversight Board. Over the past month, the WellPath, Aramark, and 2 contracts with Aramark have been signed and negotiated, signed, and executed. WellPath did take over medical services as of midnight last Saturday night. It was a relatively smooth transition with a lot of support from the county and support from GEO, individuals working overnight to make sure that it went smoothly. And there has been a continued effort over the last couple of days to resolve some of the remaining issues that came up during the transition, mostly technology, where they have some of the interfaces between WellPath's medical data system and OMS are not fully connected, but they have a team of good folks who are working on those issues. And they provide daily updates. Aramark's contract was negotiated, signed, and executed. There are a lot of efforts by the good staff at the prison to review and modify the menus for both detainees and for staff. They wanted to assure that the meals provided at the prison were quality meals and nutritious and met and exceeded standards. And I think we're pretty pleased with the commitment we got from Aramark to do that. The kitchen will be looked at within the next couple of months as to how to repair the various extensive repairs that need to be done to the kitchen. It's about a $2 million project, but in the short term, there are some repairs being done to equipment so that Aramark can use the current kitchen to provide meals until the kitchen is renovated. Commissary as well, there is an extensive review of all the products that are to be provided in the commissary, and there is a transition period in the last week of March, first week of April, to transition to Aramark's commissary. With regards to HR and screening and hiring of staff, that continues to be the highest priority and the most difficult challenge. As Chairman Madden mentioned, it is the most challenging job market we have seen in decades. Corrections especially is challenging. All of the neighboring counties are offering significant bonuses as well as significant salaries for correctional officers. But the team at the prison is making progress in screening, interviewing, and about who's being hired. The screening is tough. The questions are tough, and only those that meet standards are being recommended for hiring. In terms of where the applicants are, how they're found, I thought you might be interested in learning that 27% of the applicants come through Indeed, the online search engine, and 27% come from Juno, our search consultants, Indeed accounts. Another 27% come from the county's Indeed account. 24% come from Facebook, 13 or Facebook groups. The Juno team is involved in 9 or 10 criminal justice related groups where they advertise for positions and then they pursue contacts there and recommend that they apply. 13% of applicants come through LinkedIn. So there is broad outreach and good efforts. I know Warden Williams was on an online, I believe, job fair with my community college. We've reached out to a number of local universities and colleges to encourage them to apply to the county positions. Given all of that effort, though, I still have to say that the number of correctional officers hired by April 6th will not be at the level that the full level. There will certainly be a gap before the county meets full employment in the correctional officer area. So there's a significant amount of work still to be done there. And just waving a flag of concern, another major area of effort is actually onboarding candidates after they've accepted an offer and getting them on the county payroll. There's a lot of work to be done in that area. And I think, we've called for an all hands on deck effort, extra staff from central HR, from payroll to really almost like a SEAL, Navy SEAL group that'll come in and just help process people quickly because we are 4 weeks away from taking over and these individuals who are being hired to be processed quickly. And with that, I will take your questions.
I should have, I'm remiss, at the beginning of the meeting, I should have announced that we did have an executive session yesterday of the Jail Oversight Board related to specific personnel matters and contractual matters that are appropriate for executive session. With that said, for today, is there anything else that the board would like to, any questions or comments related to the deprivatization effort today?
Yeah, Howard would like to make a comment.
Thank you. Couple of things. With regard to HR support for onboarding, that is the number one and at times the sole priority of our personnel group. I want to call out and shout out also the controllers group for helping us. I think the onboarding of this GEO staff that we engaged will be a lot easier because we've done automated, and that's thanks to Joanne and Rick McGarrow and that team. So we appreciate that. I do want to bring up a couple other issues that are related. The first is that we are going to bring forward an amendment to the Alta management contract, and that is to adjust for additional effort that was required during the transition, and then also to provide for post-transition support. The post-transition support was always envisioned to be part of the agreement and would be one that we addressed when we got to the point where we're at now. The total dollar value of the amendment is $159,600. About $92,800 of that is for the support for January, February, and March. And then the balance, which is about $66,800, is for the post-transition support. You may ask, what is post-transition support? It includes support for finalizing the contracts and the settling of the agreement with GEO, including the finances that are required, as well as any other issues. We also, as Majid said, we're going to continue to recruit, and we're going to continue to recruit quality, not just quantity. And that means we may look at, and we'll most likely look at, extending the agreement with Juno Search Partners. We want to look at that to make sure that the level of effort is still what's appropriate and necessary. But that's something else that we'll bring forward for council approval. I did earlier today send the amendment to the Alta agreement to the Jail Oversight Board members for their consideration. And I will tell also the JOB members, I appreciate their patience over the last year and a half, as sometimes the timings of meetings were not in sync. And you've all been gracious and courteous as we've tried the best we could to make sure things were presented to you in advance. But on those occasions when we couldn't, you've been more than supportive. So I thank you for that, and just wanted to bring forward the amendment to both the Alta management contract and potentially an amendment to the Juno contract.
Thank you, Howard. And my understanding is the number you mentioned is a not to exceed amount.
That's correct. It's based upon the hours billed, not to exceed. And going back, as you remember, Majid brought back we modified the agreement to include not just principal hours, but also consultant and analyst hours, so the hourly rate and the weighted rate that we were paying is much less. So we appreciate his concern about the efficient use of county resources.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that I just don't think that we could be where we are without all the work that's been done by Alta to help us shepherd. You know, there's been so many things on the plate of the county during COVID and the health department and, you know, other, just the daily work and, you know, with the staffing that we've had. So I have to say that the work's been necessary and it's valuable, and I'm totally supportive. We've been on calls on the transition committee, you know, every week for a year, more than a year, to go through this. So you know, it's totally valuable. The work behind the scenes is extraordinary amounts of things to be done. It's, you know, I appreciate the kudos to my department, but the people are digging down so into the weeds, like, how do you record a day off? How do you record a vacation day? How do you record an hour? And all that had to be created. So, you know, with the leadership of Alta and the assistance of Juno, I don't think we could be where we are now. So I'm totally supportive of that continuation, and that will let our people run their facility, get themselves on the ground, as we really have to just take this whole thing over and just go into the next phase. So I'm very supportive of that. I appreciate all the effort, and we still have a lot to go for a month. And there's no doubt about it. So, you know, that's my comments on both of those fronts.
Thank you, Controller Phillips. Any other comments specifically related to the proposed amendment? Well, I would personally add my, you know, echoing of the controller's sentiments. We truly would not be where we are today without the efforts of Mr. Al-Sayeh and Alta. You know, this has been an incredibly heavy lift, and candidly, the county did not have the bandwidth to do so on their own. So that's really where you have the need for a consultant to step in, and Alta's been extraordinary. They've been a real partner to the county. So I also agree with the need to ensure that we have them for post-transition work. So unless there are any other thoughts, and please interrupt me if there are, I would entertain a motion to recommend the approval of Amendment 2 to the agreement with Alta Management in an amount not to exceed $159,600, bringing the total contract amount to $463,349 as an amount not to exceed. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to recommend that, as you just described.
And to be clear, this would be a recommendation to County Council, since this is a contract that exceeds $25,000. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Raheem. Motion is second. Any further discussion on this matter before we bring it to a vote?
I just want to add one thing just for transparency. I have not read the agreement for the extension. I haven't had a chance. It'll be subject to solicitor's approval. I just know that we need this additional support. That's where I'm coming from on this, and I just want to be clear. I have not read it, but I know it's just a continuation of the work we've gotten, and I believe it's necessary.
Yeah, and for those who have not had a chance, it's a one-page amendment that just lays out the estimated compensation for January through June, and the rates commensurate with principal, consultant, and analyst. Hearing nothing further, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear nobody opposed, so please let me know if otherwise. Motion carries. All right. Anything further, just more generally on the deprivatization update? And Warden Williams, I don't know, you've already spoken about the efforts with regard to hiring. I didn't know if there's anything further you wanted to add from a transition perspective.
Very thankful that Madge had covered that pretty extensively. I have some more to offer during the warden's report, but in respect to this topic, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that I appreciate the opportunity to serve the county. My team and I care deeply about this project and the importance of doing the work that we do for the county. So we really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Subcommittee reports. Anything from our subcommittee chairs?
Councilman, nothing from the treatment expansion from my side, but I think with, with things from the warden as far as the MAT expansion, I'm going to be reaching out and seeing, what we can set up just so we can be part of the loop, with the information and to see, how we can support on their end as this is something that's, finally forward that we're excited about. So I'm going to do that, upcoming and hope to have some information for next month's JOB.
Right. Thank you, Brian.
Nothing from the subcommittee of the reentry team. I have spoken with everyone, trying to wait for we just wait for the warden to get her feet up under the desk. I didn't want to bombard her with so much stuff, right? I'm waiting for the team, the whole team, to be available so we can have a conversation to see how we can assist her and aid her in all that she's trying to do for programming, especially things that are in reference to reentry. So at this point, there's no report, but we have been connecting. Laura Williams did email me to try to get some tentatives when I saw how busy her schedule was. I just want to give her a little mercy.
I'm sure that's appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, Raheem. Warden Williams, your report.
Thank you, and I appreciate the mercy. I'm excited that we'll be able to tie in Deputy Warden Falley as well, who I'm certain will assist us in reentry. Before I enter the warden's report, I wanted to make sure that I addressed a public comment that was offered towards the end of the meeting last month. There were two different questions that were posed. One was related to phone rates and the other was related to processing fees. I wanted to provide some contextual history in the event that that would be useful to those that are listening to the meeting. On 8/20 of 2020, there was an amended contract to reduce the phone rates to 17 cents per minute. It was previously 25 cents per minute. This was again reduced because of an FCC order on November 15th of 2021 to 16 cents per minute. I just wanted to make sure that that information was provided and appreciated the individual who came to speak about that. Additionally, processing fees. That was something that was brought up in history within Jail Oversight Board. So that was waived at the September 8th of 2020 JOB meeting. We have not finalized any discussions regarding this topic. We will continue to analyze this. I wanted to make sure that the public was aware that this is currently still the practice. The processing fee is suspended as of that vote in September of 2020. Next month's Jail Oversight Board meeting, we will officially be post-transition. For now, we are still operating within all speed ahead in the transitional efforts. And thankfully, we have a multitude of stakeholders and partners that are assisting us with that. Today's population is 1,397 incarcerated individuals. 1,248 of those identify as male, 149 identify as female, and we've had 37 lodgers. We've had 31 weekenders reported from Friday to Saturday. Total commitments in February were 530. Discharges were 531. Our recidivism rate, unfortunately, has climbed. We were very excited last month to be under 60%. We are at 64% right now. I'm confident with all of the initiatives and program expansion in the future, we will see those numbers steadily decline until we can reach a more stable and low recidivism rate. We had a major incident in the institution on February 25th. We did advise the Jail Oversight Board where an individual required emergency medical interventions and transport to a local hospital. He was released from legal custody on Saturday of the 26th of February while he remained hospitalized. Over this past weekend, we did transition our health services department. WellPath officially took operational control at 12:01 a.m. on March 6th of 2022. I'm happy to report that throughout the day, truly beginning on Friday, WellPath staff as well as county and GEO employees began staging equipment, supplies, making sure that all staff were communicating, that expectations were known to ensure that this would be a successful transitional time period. All transitions are important, but when we talk about health of the incarcerated population, none of us can afford, nor do we want there to be a lapse in care. 96.8% of the incumbent GEO staff transitioned to WellPath, and they have added additional staff members since that time period. WellPath offers multiple training and orientation opportunities to ensure a strong foundation of their clinical staff, to ensure that they're also embodying the goals and vision of their organization. At present moment, 90% have completed their introduction training, 90% have completed their journey training, 92% have completed their readiness training. They anticipate those numbers to climb throughout this week as their staff report for duty. The organization has begun the process of reviewing our current processes to ensure that enhancements and efficiencies to care can be offered. As they've established their baselines, they're working to ensure that all patients have had sick calls, intakes, and history and physicals completed. Mr. Corson will be especially happy to know that they have filled the vacancy for the opiate treatment coordinator. That individual is scheduled to begin next week, and we'll have their meetings with Crozier Health as well so that we can complete those partnerships and officially begin the expansion of medications for opioid use disorder treatment. This transition of the facility is ongoing, and we're excited for the concrete steps that our healthcare team has taken in moving us forward. On Thursday, 2 residents are scheduled for transfer to Norristown State Hospital, pending their COVID test results, which will bring our wait list down to 7. 6 residents await their commitment hearings for 402 orders. And in the month of February, 56 incarcerated individuals were discharged to inpatient drug and alcohol treatment programs. The facility is still undergoing maintenance. We are still awaiting parts. For units 2A and D, those remain closed until the HVAC unit can be serviced appropriately. Once that takes place, we will be able to manage our population in a different way so that we can increase some additional services in the institution. I would like to invite Assistant Warden Shaw up to present regarding programs. But before she joins me, I wanted to offer any questions that might have been brought up based on my current report. Okay.
Thank you, Warden Williams. Good evening, members of the board and the public. For education, contact teaching continues in small, same unit cohorts. In February, there were 23 students enrolled in the GED preparation class and 36 GED tests administered with a 72% passing rate. There were 3 GEDs earned. We want to extend an extra thank you to our full-time teacher, Ms. Gilmartin. We greatly appreciate the dedication and commitment to serving all of our adult learners. Suboxone grant update. WellPath and Crozier submitted the contract modifications to include programs and budgets to the Department of Human Services. They were finalized and submitted to the Bureau of Justice Assistance on Friday, March 5th. We must get final approval from the BGA in order to move forward with the modifications. The Department of Human Services is working on the contract for WellPath as Crozier's is already executed. For the Vivitrol program, the last official participant was released to a community-based halfway house on Friday, February 25th. We recognize there has been a short lapse in enrollment. Next week, the WellPath opiate coordinator will start their role, and we're eager to resume the MAT program. 9 students earned a Flagler Forest certification. Thresholds provided services to 12 clients for the month of February. They continue to hold micro sessions. We had 32 participants in Prep 1 with 8 completions and 17 participants in Prep 2 with 2 completions. For the month of February, 528 video visits were scheduled. Video visits continue to be free. And as the warden stated, in-person visits will reopen on Monday, March 14th. Online scheduling will open on Thursday. All in-person visits must be scheduled online at gtlvisitme.com. All visits must be scheduled 2 days in advance and no more than 7 days in advance. The same parameters as video visits. In-person visits will be between 12:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Also on Monday, March 14th, video visits will be available between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. This information can be found on the county website as well. ViaPath contract update. The contract has been signed and we're excited to execute. ViaPath product team has earmarked 1,000+ tablets and 44 rolling carts for the facility. ViaPath will perform a walkthrough of the facility for installation and then provide a timeline for install. ViaPath project analyst is currently setting up the external mail scan. The process will be 2 weeks to set up and send test emails. Also, marketing materials will be ordered and sent. The entire process will take 6 weeks minimum for a go-live date, which would include notifying the population and friends and family. And simply put, first we have to get tablets in the hands of all the incarcerated persons. And when we have that situated, we can then access the mail management process. And that will be done through the tablets. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Warden Williams, anything further? Any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to reiterate one thing that I said yesterday in our meeting, and I know the people are working so hard around the clock. I saw you at the job fair. I know you were there all night long with your staff. If something is impeding you in what we need to do this last month, you we please reach out. As I said, there's no more time contingency. We might have a budget contingency. We don't have time, so, we're count on a give and take of communication. And I know you have the pledge of all our assistants that are in the county and with the support of the board. So I just want to reiterate that for the public and for your staff.
Thank you. I have nothing further unless somebody has something I need to address. Otherwise, thank you very much.
All right. Next item on the agenda for today is our second round of public comments. And I see two that have addresses and names, and so I will read them into the record. The first is from Kevin O'Donohue, 4 Mendenhall Drive, Glen Mills, PA 19342. Mr. Donahue says, as a longtime and current neighbor of this facility, I'm very concerned for the future safety of our community and neighborhood. Speak up if this concerns you as well. The George W. Hill Correctional Facility will be taken over by Delaware County on April 6, 2022. The prison houses over 1,000 inmates that range from DUIs to rapists or murderers. Delaware County plans on eliminating the canine unit. The 9 armed officers and 16 dogs are crucial and have been for a long time in securing the safety of our surrounding neighborhoods. The officers, along with the dogs, patrol the 420 acres which borders Concord Township and Thornbury Township. In addition to the narcotic sniffing dog, the sentry guard dogs are located around the perimeter and fenced-in area. The officers, along with the dogs, are a tremendous asset and psychological deterrent for any perceived threat, both inside and outside the prison. If this concerns you like it does me, please reach out to your local leaders and voice your concerns before it's too late. This Tuesday, March 8th, is the next Delaware County Jail Oversight Board meeting. We're talking about today's meeting. You can visit delcopa.gov to watch the meeting. Thanks. I've lived near this prison my entire life. Just not sure this has been properly thought through by Delaware County, and I thought others in our community would like to know. Here are some facts. Since 1974, the K-9 unit has been on patrol 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. K-9 officers are certified in narcotics and patrol through the United States Police K-9 Association. K-9 officers are Pennsylvania Act 235 lethal weapons certified. Delaware County K-9 unit not only performs searches, patrol, and security of the prison and 200 plus acres, but also the surrounding community. You may see them on patrol, ensuring traffic is moving and there is no one loitering, as there is no local law enforcement, only PA State Police who have a large area to patrol. In fact, cutting the K-9 unit is detrimental to the security of the facility as well as to all in the community. Sincerely, Kevin O'Donohue, Glen Mills, PA. There is a similar comment, and we received 2 others that didn't have names and addresses, but they had similar sentiments, all sent today. And this second comment was from Kathy McCary, whose address is 409 Greenwood Road, Kennett Square, PA 19348. Ms. Carey writes to the Jail Oversight Board members, my name is Kathy McCary, and I'm writing to you on behalf of the GHC K-9 unit. I have been up to several years ago a lifelong resident of Delaware County. I was born and raised in Delaware County, lived in Media, Middletown Township, went to school at Rose Tree Media School District, and graduated from Pencrest High School. I've always worked in Delco and still do at Garnet Valley School District. The reason I'm prefacing this is because I want you to know that I am very vested in Delaware County, especially the K-9 officers. Were you aware there's a day designated to honor K-9 officers in the United States? Well, there is. March 13th of every year is K-9 Veterans Day. For 5 years, I was the event planner for K-9 Veterans Day in Delaware County. I worked at a veterinary hospital in Morton, and from 2012 to 2016, I planned and coordinated the celebration of K-9 Veterans Day, honoring our 4-legged, incredibly smart and selfless K-9 officers. The sacrifice K-9 officers make is above and beyond anything humans are willing to do. This brings me to the question, why would you ever think of taking away the I think she means GWH K-9 unit away? Are you really aware and educated as to what these dogs and their handlers do? Do you understand the importance of a K-9 unit, especially in a facility like George W. Hill? Have you looked into the possibility of downsizing the unit focused on single-purpose K-9? these canine also present a psychological factor in deterring inmate violence, as well as keeping the George W. Hill and outside community safe. I also would like to know what you would propose to do with the dogs if you decided to abolish the program. It is my understanding placements were looked into for some of the canine already and seemed fruitful, but because there was no definitive answer, the opportunity went by the wayside. Are you aware how valuable these canine are? They not only protect the prison, but on occasion work outside the prison on other jobs because of how skilled they are. My last year of planning the canine event, I decided it was time to showcase the canine unit. This was an award-winning canine unit that got very little attention. Nobody even knew just what these canine officers could do. They were not flashy. They were not really promoted anywhere. Nobody ever really saw them, but I will tell you it would be hard to find a better unit with quality training abilities and leadership than George W. Hill Canine has. I'll leave you with this. When I showcased the canine, I interviewed former correctional officers and canine handlers. The story that stayed with me the most was from a former correctional officer who is now with the Delco Police Department. A riot had broken out in the prison. He said all hell broke loose and it was really scary. I can't even imagine, can you? The correctional officers were doing the best they could, but were not in a good place. Then the canine units got there. He said around the corner came those canine. He said it was the best sight in the world because it was like they were angels. He said they saved us. They were angels. How can you even think of taking away that layer of protection for your correctional officers and the public? Please learn about canine officers and the specific jobs they do. They do what we cannot do, find the money and make it work. Sincerely, Kathy McCary. Just because we received a few what seem to be coordinated emails on this topic today, Mr. Wood Williams, do you want to speak about the reasons for why we are discontinuing the canine unit and how out of the ordinary it's been for a county jail to have a canine unit of this sort?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We came to the county in January of 2021 and assessed the operations with CGL, a national corrections consulting firm who continues to support the efforts. And one of the areas that we found to be unusual for a prison in Pennsylvania was the canine unit. In fact, I believe it is the only county prison in the entire state of Pennsylvania that has a canine unit. And that is something that it had long before the prison was privatized, and it was added to the contract for GEO when GEO was hired to run the prison. Most of the corrections facilities around the country believe that that is an antiquated way of addressing safety for the facility, and there are much better ways using technology, cameras, and other devices to maintain security of the facility and control. So it allows the correctional officers that are in the canine unit to actually go back in the prison and be able to serve the county in a more direct role with oversight of the detainees.
Warden Williams, I don't know if you wanted to add anything further.
May I just ask a question? I understand that the commentary about being an antiquated system, but until we have all of the technology that you just addressed up, is it something that we should look at disbanding? If we don't have the cameras, if we don't have the IT, which I think we're not there yet, but maybe you could
That's
address.
correct. They are not there yet. That is certainly something that CGL recommended that it be disbanded because the prison does not have sufficient staffing as it is to have, and I think it's actually 14 individuals right. And they could be meeting a much greater need of service directly in the prison. I would like to hear more discuss this with you.
Thank you. So as mentioned, this was discussed, and I do have to trust that there were expert organizations who truly reviewed the full picture of the facility prior to my arrival, and that's why some of the decisions have been made. I do want to state, though, that it's important to recognize that our canine unit is a unit of integrity and honor. The people who work in that unit really do care. And regardless of the disposition of this unit, it is important to acknowledge that many individuals have dedicated themselves, have gotten additional training. They welcomed me as the new warden to come and visit the kennel, and they were more than happy to show me around so that they could showcase some of the work that they've done. So I do hope that no matter what our discussion leads to, there is a recognition that some things will be changed, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that was because they were bad, and that these individuals did provide a lot of different support to the agency. And we are looking at all of the ways moving forward that will be the best for the overall institution.
All right. Those were the only two remarks from the public that I have seen come in. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak at this time?
Ms. Dunbar would like to ask a question or make a comment.
This is my first time. I understand that, and I appreciate that people that are being rehired, I have a real concern. Are they going to be retrained to meet our county standards, or are they just going to move on to their job? You know, there's a retraining of COs that are being hired. Rehire. But it's a training.
Ms. Dunbar
I'm sorry.
and Warden Williams, I don't think the public can really hear the back and forth. Do you want to just make your
That's
remarks?
the question. You know,
Yeah.
my question is, will the existing COs that were GEO employees be retrained at the county to perform at a county standard? Pretty much is what I need to know. And does anybody know about the American flag outside George W. Hill? It was on Facebook. It's a rag. It's tattered and it's torn. And I'm just wondering if anybody's going to replace that after GEO leaves, because it's really, really bad. And it's a bad statement for the county. But it was a general post on Facebook that I saw. So that was it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Dunbar. Warden Williams, do you want to, just for the public's benefit, do you want to provide any answer to the question that Ms. Dunbar posed?
Absolutely. I don't feel that I need to wait until next month to provide comment in response to that. In essence, yes, everybody will go through a retraining procedure. That's important because we will be transferring from GEO policies to county-initiated policies. There will be some policies that will be implemented that did not previously exist, others that will be revised and modified. So at a bare minimum, everybody is going to have to go through exposure and training with the new policies for the operations of the facility. We additionally have new staff that are starting or those that had recently started that would benefit from additional training and support. And we are looking at additional supervisory and development training that will help in the integrity and the transformation of the institution. If additional details would like to be provided, I would be willing to do that in the future. But that's the short answer.
All right, thank you, Warden. With that, the last item for today is any further board comment before we adjourn? Anything from the board? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?